Hey guys, Ryan here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the best sniper supports to use after the mid-season patch. I'm going to be giving you a lot of different attachments and builds for these, so look down in the description to find those as well. If you guys enjoy this video, you guys don't have to like, you don't have to subscribe. I just want to say thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy it. So the very first gun we're going to talk about is going to be the Owen gun. Of all the sniper supports I'm going to talk about, this is the close range king. It can be a little iffy in the mid-range because of the high visual recoil and the slow rate of fire, but it is insane between 0 and 15 meters, and it is the best sniper support for aggressive players in my opinion. The other key thing is going to be based on what map you play. For Rebirth, I think the Owen is a lot better than on Caldera. On Caldera, guns like the Cooper and other guns I'm talking about later in this video are going to shine a lot more because you have a lot more mid-range engagements. On Rebirth, as you're seeing in this video, a lot of the kills are happening within 10 meters. So to have a gun like the Owen gun that has an insanely fast time to kill between 0 and 10 meters that can compete with guns like the MP40 and Type 100 is massively important for aggressive players. So if you were someone who finds yourself getting in a lot of fights between 0 and 10 meters, the Owen gun is probably going to be the best sniper support for you. However, if you are someone who's getting in fights that are between 15 and 25 and 30 meters more often, then maybe you should use some of the other options in this video. And speaking of those other options, at number 2, we're going to have the Cooper Carbine. The Cooper Carbine to me is one of the outright best sniper supports for use on Caldera. It's still good on Rebirth, but I much prefer it on something like Caldera where I have a lot more mid-range engagements. This thing has very low recoil, it has really good damage up close, really good damage in the mid-range, and it is just a super fun gun to use. I also really think that the Cooper Carbine fits well in the hands of people who are a little more conservative with their playstyles. It doesn't have the best mobility, it's not really sluggish, it's not a super slow gun to use, but it doesn't have the mobility of something like the MP40, the Owen gun, and even like the Lapa for example, so that means you have to use it a little differently. You don't really want to be pushing people super aggressively. You want to be oftentimes aimed down sight and ready for your opponents. This is a gun that rewards positioning over movement and things like that. You're going to still have good movement with this gun, don't get me wrong. It's not that sluggish. But compared to the SMGs, as I said before, it isn't that mobile. So if you are someone who does have good positioning, this is where this gun's going to shine and where you really want to use it. Anyways, we're going to move on from there. We're going to talk about the third gun on this list, the CX9. Now, for a long time, I've kind of struggled to really rank this thing. But after finding what I think is the best build for it, I think this thing is amazing. I think, what is the perfect combination of mobility, of damage in the mid-range, of the low recoil kind of feel you want to achieve with your builds, and I just think it's an absolute animal of a sniper support. I don't want to hype it up too much, but I really think this thing's being slept on, and I think if you're someone who's a fan of Modern Warfare guns, you should be giving this thing a try. The hip fire is amazing, the mobility is not that bad when you build it correctly, and the other thing is it just has a great feel to it. I always talk about feel with my guns, and this thing really shines in that aspect. It has amazing feel between 0 and 10 meters, and it has good damage between 10 and 25 meters, and that's what makes it really stand out. Of all the SMGs I'm going to talk about, this is the most balanced SMG on this entire list, alongside the Lapa. I'm not saying this gun is meant for everyone, and I think some people won't like it, but if you're someone who hip fires a lot, if you're someone who really likes Modern Warfare guns, then I think this is going to be the best sniper support for you. I personally really enjoy it, especially with this new build I just tried, and I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it too. Just make sure you grab the build for this from the description down below. So let's move into the fourth gun on this list, the Lapa. So as I mentioned before in the previous section, I think this is also one of the most balanced options to use right now. This thing is really good in the mid-range, it's really good between 0 and 10 meters, and it just has a really good feel. I've mentioned this gun multiple times in past videos, but what's different about it now is I've actually changed the build up a little bit. I'm now using a slightly different build, and I think it just makes it outright one of the best sniper supports in the entire game because it has the perfect fusion of mobility, damage up close, damage in the mid-range, and feel. I do find that some people just don't like the recoil. Some people are going to prefer the CX9 and Owen gun to the Lapa, and some people are going to really like the way this thing feels. I found that it's really kind of a personal preference thing, and who knows how you're going to feel about it. For me, I enjoy it. I love it, but I've had some friends, they try it, they don't like it. Some of my friends, they really do enjoy it. So it's going to kind of be a personal preference thing. And this same personal preference thing is going to apply to the last 3 guns I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about them all at once though. So these 3 guns are going to be the Cold War AK, the FFAR, and the Vargo 52. All of them are Cold War assault rifles. All of them have essentially the same time to kill up close and in the mid-range and all of that. It's all going to kind of come down to personal preference of which one you prefer. The FFAR has a much higher rate of fire than something like the Cold War AK, and it also feels a little bit better between 0 and 15 meters. It doesn't feel amazing in the mid-range, but it definitely feels pretty good in the mid-range, and that's why I like the gun so much. The Cold War AK has a pretty slow rate of fire, so if you miss 1 or 2 shots, that can be pretty punishing, but the damage is all around insane, and it's definitely a little better in the mid-range than the FFAR. The Vargo is kind of a mixture of the Cold War AK and the FFAR. It has a much higher fire rate than the Cold War AK, and it's kind of on par with the FFAR, but it doesn't have the same damage as those two, albeit the damage is very comparable. Of the 3 I mentioned, the Vargo feels the best in the mid-range. I'd also say that if you want to use one of these 3, make sure it fits your playstyle. This is definitely for more conservative players that allow people to play into them. As I mentioned with the Cooper Carbine, this gun rewards positioning. If you are someone who's often in a very good positioning and you have smart positioning and people are constantly running into you, then this is going to be the options that I'd highly recommend. And these are also really good on Caldera. Because they have good damage between 0 and 10 meters, but they're really good in the mid-range, this is going to really make them stand out. So that's going to lead me talking about honorable mentions. Up first, we're going to have the AS44, then the Sten, the Modern Warfare MP7 at number 3, then we have the PPSH from Cold War at number 4, and the MP40 at number 5. Now, these aren't the only honorable mentions either, and there's even guns like the Bullfrog, the MAC-10, and guns like that that you should also really consider using. Even there are guns like the Ram 7, for example, that are also very good. There's a lot of options out there right now, and the meta's kind of open for the first time in a while. I'm going to start wrapping this video up. I just want to say thank you to everyone who watches my videos. Thank you to everyone who comments. You guys don't know how appreciative I am. I know I say thank you a lot, but for real, guys, thank you so much. It is insane how much we've accomplished, and I cannot wait to see where we end up. For the past 3 months, I've averaged between 15,000 and 20,000 views every month, and that is absolutely insane because I've essentially had my YouTube for just over a year. So thank you guys so much for all of that, and I can't wait to see where we end up next year. Anyways, guys, I hope you have a good day. It's been Ryan. Peace.